Hi, and welcome to a conversation on spiritual leadership. My name is Diane Hayworth. I am a heart-centered success coach, an author, a speaker. I'm the founder of the Be Love Principles, and it is my pleasure to invite you into an intimate conversation with a couple of my friends. Now, before we get started, what I wanted to do is just give you some context for this discussion. I am really blessed, I think, to know some beautiful, heart-centered men and women who really are doing their part now more than ever to bring love, light, healing, compassion, and kindness to the world. And as I'm going through this pandemic, like everyone else, it was occurring to me that it's that kind of leadership that is really fueling me and helping me day by day to get through this, not only just in a way to survive, but to feel enriched and fueled. So I wanted to have a conversation and discuss that actually with some people that are very dear to me, women that I deeply respect, not only because they actually just do so many wonderful things in the world, but because I've had the privilege of experiencing their heart. I know what wonderful, loving souls they are, and they're brilliant. You'll see that in just a few minutes. So what I'd like to do right now is welcome them. I'll give you a very short introduction. We'll have all their bios and the information that you'll get after this, but let me introduce Sister Jenna. Hello, dear sister. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Om Shanti, everyone.
So Sister Jenna, among many things, is the founder and curator at the Meditation Museums here in the Washington, D.C. area. That's actually how I met her and these other beautiful women. She's also host of the popular and fantastic America Meditating Radio Show. That's
Which is where we met.
That is exactly where we met. And if you all have never checked that out, I really encourage you to do so. So
You
thank
don't know
you.
what you're missing.
That is exactly right. You don't know what you're missing. It is wonderful. She has spirited in every way, right? Discussions with fascinating people. So thank you so much for being here. Kanu, my friend Kanu Kogard is here. Welcome. She is a leadership expert. She's also the founder of Bridges in Organizations. She is a beautiful, loving spirit. And again, all of these ladies I have met through Sister Jenna. We've all actually been on retreat together up at Peace Village, which is a beautiful, beautiful place run by the Brahma Kumaris in New York that I hope we get to meet again there. Kanu, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Excited to have you here. And that leaves us with our beautiful Reverend Sylvia Sumter. Reverend Sylvia, thank you so much for being here. She is the senior minister at Unity of DC, doing fantastic work, not only in the DC area, but around the world. And all three of these beautiful women, just the heart and soul that they bring to the planet, to me, is the essence of spiritual leadership. And that's why we wanted to talk to them today. So before we start, would you join me in just a moment of allowing us to land here together? Whether you are with us live or you're going to be looking at this later. Let's take a moment. If it's comfortable for you, I invite you to put your hand on your heart and shut your eyes. And let's just imagine that we are able to breathe love in through the back of our hearts and out through the front. Breathe love in through the back and out through the front. Breathe love in through the back and out through the front. And as we sit here together for just a moment, I invite you to bring to your awareness a moment in time where you remember your heart blossoming with deep gratitude, with overwhelming appreciation, with the joy of compassion. Just feel your heart open and let's sit there for just a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. So let's talk about this idea of spiritual leadership. Sister Jenna, when I just say that phrase, spiritual leadership, what does that bring to mind for you? What is the essence of spiritual leadership from your perspective?
The immediate response is a server. The immediate thought is a server,
Yeah.
someone who is thinking a lot about the well-being of other people.
Yep.
And the second aspect is a leader who is in touch with themselves, their strengths and their limits, but they're not going to give up on their own transformation.
And I know that you've been privileged to be around many people that you consider spiritual leaders. And I know we're going to talk about that in a little while, because that's one of the things I'm most interested in learning about from you, friend. Kenny, what about you? What is this spirit of leadership, spiritual leadership? What does that mean to you?
For me, it means bringing out the best in other people, like seeing the best, seeing the divine in each person, even when they can't see it for themselves,
Oh, I love
even when
that.
it's covered over by limitations or complaints or negativities, to actually bring out and see the best in them and have a big picture of them. And people feel that. They feel the energy of that when you're holding somebody in their best possible light, and they move into that. I had a friend tell me once, you make me a better me, and that was the best compliment I could have ever had, because to really be able to light up that energy in someone else, I think is spiritual leadership, and I think it's something that we all have the ability to do. It's not just confined. It's a leadership move to extend yourself, but it's for all of us.
Oh, I agree. So I love this. You all can see already we have these beautiful perspectives. And Reverend Sylvia, what about you? From your unique perspective, what does the essence of spiritual leadership mean to you?
Well, for me, it means leading by example, because I can espouse certain principles, but when I own those principles and I try to live my life by them and demonstrate them, then others have the ability to see that I am in alignment with my inner world, my being, my sense of who I am, who the divine is, and I express that. Because to me, it has to do with um, demonstrating, not that one is perfect, but that you have a certain set of principles where you're endeavoring to live at the highest level based on certain principles that you offer, and people then can see that and are willing to be inspired by that. So to me, you lead by example, spiritual leadership.
You know, you just mentioned something that I think is really important too. You mentioned being able to lead by what's available to you then. So spiritual leadership could perhaps evolve as each individual evolves. Would you think that's possible?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I
Mhm.
know for me, when I was thinking about this, I thought of the two aspects that you mentioned. Well, everybody has mentioned it. There's spiritual leadership that I've seen out here, certainly with you three, certainly with people like Marianne Williamson, people like, for me, Louise Hay, Robert Holden, people who have, by their example, taught me things. But there's also that aspect of following the spirit within. For me, that's the spirit of love. So when I am guided by that divine spirit of love within, to me, I am, it's not that I'm not in a pandemic or there's not a issue going on, but boy, is it a lot easier to go this way than go this way. Have you all found that? My next question is really, I'm really interested to see how you talk about this. Who are examples of spiritual leaders that have really affected you in your life? I know that all of you have wonderful examples, and Sister Jenna, I know you've got somebody very, very close to you that you are still mourning. But I would love for you to talk a few moments about your mentor who just affected literally millions of people across the planet.
Yeah, I've had a lot. I have a lot. And I think as a result of that, sometimes I might carry the expectation of being much better than I am right now. However, I've been able to reconcile that in my own way at different times. I can't necessarily choose one, but
You
Daddy
can have more than
Janky,
one. You can
yeah, I have
you can have a couple.
a lot. And when you're raised around a lot of them, I
Yeah.
think you take not for granted, but you know, when you're just used to being in a particular environment, but you're still yourself,
Mhm.
and yet you miss a lot because there's just too much of that familiarity between you and them. But I will say it was my mother. I will say that Sister Gita was the first impression of a spiritual example, taking into consideration where she came from and her broken pieces. When
Mm.
she came into the Brahma Kumaris, I saw a broken down, traumatized human being gradually moving towards her sainthood.
Mm.
And it was from her example that I began to connect more to many of the sisters and brothers in the Brahma Kumaris. So there are two that have had a very strong impact on me, and they're both have passed. Daddy Prakashmani, who we have a peace tree planted here in Washington, D.C., and the mayor had declared June 10th as Daddy Prakashmani Day.
Mm.
She impacted me because she was so natural. She never tried to be spiritual. She just was a sweet, spiritually empowered person. And that had set a very strong tone for me, Diane, and everyone. That spirituality didn't necessarily mean you had to be this guru on the stage and sort of, always having people under you. And Daddy Janki, who her karmic energy, and she just passed away on March 27th. And as you know, the corona virus is here and the COVID-19 dilemma that we can't travel to go and see her. But Daddy Janki, to me, kind of, she made a gamble. This is the best way I'd put it. I think
You have to explain that a little bit.
I don't know what she was thinking. I don't know what she saw. But I just I just never ever even considered that I had the quality in my personality to help lives deeply. But she saw that. And as a result of seeing that, she didn't let me go. So, on many levels, her teachings, her corrections, her love, her playfulness helped me a lot. And what I took from Daddy Janki in her example of spiritual leadership, everyone, was that there were different stages to her. There was a part of her where she was very serious, very official. So there was a caution with her. But then after a while, she became very childlike, very playful. And then you weren't so cautious around her anymore. So, I guess like everyone, we transition into different stages, but I'd say it was my mother first started as my example of spiritual leadership. Then it was Daddy Prakashmani, and then it was Daddy Janki. And those three folks stand out for me very, very powerfully.
With Daddy Janky, I never got a chance to meet her, but I was always so, it was almost overwhelming even seeing video of her, how
Yeah,
powerful her voice, her message. And she was a tiny little thing, I understand,
yeah,
not
4 feet
physically.
11,
And when she became head of the Brahma Kumari, she was what, 90?
93. 93, and only the Brahma Kumaris, our seniors respected. And she
How
led the
fantastic.
organization until 104. And I wish Thelma Reese was on this particular conversation because, when you grow older, you carry something that our generation just don't.
Yeah.
Experience is priceless.
And such deep connection to wisdom, it seems to me. And wasn't she just in New York less than a year ago, still on planes going from India back and forth?
Yes, she was still traveling a lot, and just the last 2 months, she basically said, I'm going to surrender this body. It's not working for me anymore," and she just had to move on.
How impactful, though, that little tiny, this little tiny woman who was primarily in India impacts you, impacts the millions of Brahma Kumaris around, impacts this little ex-Presbyterian in Warrenton, Virginia, and I never met her. To me, that is these beautiful ripple effects of someone who truly is coming from their heart. It's a beautiful example.
But that's what Reverend Sylvia was sharing. You know, spiritual
Yep.
leadership is when you model that example. And that's what you saw and felt from the daddies, from Daddy Prakash Mani and Daddy Janki, and many of them that I know, both men and women. It's just, you know, you model what you say, you model what you preach. I don't want to use the word preach. You model the process that you're going through. And even if it's not perfect, the fact that you can be authentic with your imperfection, to me, is also a sign of your spiritual leadership. I had reached a point that I had become quite dismissive of anything that seemed so super spiritual, but I had no relationship with the person. If they were on a stage and they looked perfect, and I had no idea what they did, you know, behind the stage or off of the, you know, the podium, I was more curious to find more about the person behind the scenes. Who are they when they're not on the stage? And that was the way I used to gauge my growth of spiritual leadership, that let me be as genuine as possible. And those that I happen to be responsible for, and Kanu and Sylvia, they know me well. I really make an effort not to project too much of, you know, I'm close to God, I'm almost perfect, can't you see it? You know, follow me, bow to me. And that's something that at our center at the Brahma Kumaris, I just don't do. I just don't do. I invite the community to let's travel together, but do know I do have experience, and I have taken a few steps perhaps ahead of you. So I would appreciate if you would value most of the things that I would say. I am going to mess up. I don't mind if you help to correct me or guide me through, but don't do it all the time.
Well, there's spiritual honesty for you. Spiritual honesty for you. I think that we all can live in what I call the land of the and. We can show that we are fearful, that we're scared at times, and remember we are held by a love, by an energy that encompasses us all, right? But we have that human side, and then that inner deep longing that wants to do good in the world, I think. Reverend Sylvia, what about you? Who has been in your life an example of spiritual leadership, and why?
Well, the person is not actually in my life, but I have used them as an example. And I used to always say to God, why couldn't you make me like Mother Teresa?
Oh, I was thinking about her this morning, actually.
Yeah, I just love her. You know, she has done some wonderful, sweet writings, but she isn't really known for her writings, although they're very sweet and I love to read them. She's known for her actions,
Yeah.
because she actually lived her principles to the degree that she would be able to go down into the gutter of Calcutta and pick up a wounded soul, a diseased body, and love it and nurture it and treat that soul with such respect and regard that I said, this is a soul that truly is not only connected to living her principles, but connected to the divine so much that it comes out in her actions. And what I've been working with lately for my own special intentions and desire is that I want my beingness to be so connected to the divine that it influences my doingness, so that whatever I do is really moved and motivated by what I am being, and what I am being is moved and motivated by how much I allow the beingness of God, the divine, the sacred, to really enter into my heart and soul, so that I'm expressing from this highest place. So I love that about her, because I often, I just say, I don't know if I have that degree of compassion, but I would love to have that degree of compassion where I just see a soul in need as a jewel, a blessing of God, and I can serve that soul from the highest place within me. So I love Mother Teresa.
I love that
Reverend
example.
Sylvia.
I was thinking about her this morning, actually, because one of my favorite stories about her, she was on a plane and was served a meal. Do y'all remember what it was like to be on a plane, first of all, and second of all, to get a meal? And when she was served, supposedly what I heard was that she said, I would like this to be donated to the homeless. So then guess what happened with every other person on that plane?
Yeah, they followed her example.
What a beautiful everyday choice of compassion. That I've always just thought that was the most beautiful story. And she wasn't someone that, she didn't have a YouTube channel, right? She didn't have social media,
Right.
none of that. And still, what is this, 20 years after her death, maybe more than that? We're still talking about the impact.
Yes.
What a beautiful example. Kenny, what about you? Who's impacted you in a way that you really feel they embody this idea of spiritual leadership?
Well, first, just listening to my dear friends, Sister Jenna and Reverend Sylvia, I have to say that these two have totally been inspirational for me. It's some kind of magic to have friendships that are based in spirituality and are at the same time authentic, like real authentic, to be able to show your best and your worst, which for these two women is not much. And
the golf course,
it's just it's the power of keeping good company. Has such an incredible effect on every part and particle of your being, because you're not fighting the energy that is often pervades the world right now, especially during this time where there's competing stories about, should we protect ourselves because we're going to lose everything, or can we have peace now because out of the ashes something new is going to grow? So I would like to actually, though, tell you the person that has the most profound effect on me ever, and it happened through a series, so I have to kind of mark the series. This is a long time ago, but in 1971, my friend Mickey Singer, who's now known as Michael Singer, and I and another friend, his wife at that time, Shelley, we would go to Casadega and meet with Eloise Page, who was one of really my first real teachers. And she gave us the natural laws of the universe. Her husband was a direct disciple of Paramahansa Yogananda. So she would channel him and give us these amazing messages. She taught us so much. And out of that, I started on a spiritual path with Self-Realization Fellowship, which is Paramahansa Yogananda's group. From there, I lived in Gainesville, Florida at the time, University of Florida, and we had all these wonderful, incredible people coming. And then the person who was really to transform my life was Muktananda, Swami Muktananda. And he came to Gainesville in January of 1975. And my life has never been the same. And this is a long time ago. So I still feel his presence. I still feel when I can, it's not my voice. It's not the voice of intuition. It's a voice that comes up inside of me, that it still guards, and protects me with an incredible amount of grace. And uh, because he's had such a luminous effect on my life, and I was only with him 7 years while he was alive, but he's still alive for me. He's still very much alive and present, and having a profound effect. The person who I study with now a lot on the scriptures, which I'm kind of a universalist, Buddhist, Hindu, Jew, Christian. It's kind of an interesting mix. I recently got baptized at the Jordan River. I hadn't expected that to happen. So I feel that I've kind of have this mix of great spiritual traditions inside of me, and just fortunate to be in the good company to be able to express that now.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, then being fed by current friends who help fuel that purpose for you. And then it sounds like everybody has had the great blessing of either directly or indirectly seeing people who know how to shine that light of the divine. I don't know if that's the way you all would language it, but I know my example would be from a woman that I am sure nobody on this call, maybe one, has ever heard of. And she was a lady who passed probably at least 15 years ago here in my little town. Her name was Dorcas Pearson. She was the mother of my good friend Debbie, and we grew up together. I knew her probably at least 50 years before she passed. And Sister Jenna, I did not have your experience. We were not a whole family of spiritual folks. That's not how it rolled at our house. We went, the kids went to Sunday school on Sunday, and that was it. That was Sunday. But when I would go to my friend Debbie's house, I saw this woman who was so devoted to her family, to her community, to her church. And what I really noticed, even as a small child, was there wasn't any attachment to look at what I do, or I'm going to make sure the neighbors know whatever I did. I just saw this heartfelt desire to show people God's love through being an instrument. That's the way I interpreted it as a child. And it was beautiful to see. She not only would be the first one to sign up if there was a local funeral and people were making food, she certainly did that, but she would deliver food to sick people. She would go clean. She just was there to be the presence of love. And it was so impactful on me. I hadn't seen it that way before. It was really impactful to me. Another spiritual leader, I have to say, somebody who has taught me more in recent years than anybody else, that's my grandson, my 3-year-old grandson. To see how trusting he is. He trusts that every need will be met. He trusts he's going to be fed. He trusts he has a roof over his head. Reminds me to trust in the love that ultimately supports me. To have that kind of trust is something I still work on every day, but to see it in him has really been amazing for me. And I think it speaks to one of those old sayings that, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And mine appeared a couple years ago, and he's just this tall. He's shorter than even Daddy Jakey. He's tiny. But that's, that, and even, and Sister Jenna, I don't know if Happy will make an appearance, but to me, that is a little fuzzy spiritual leader.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
seriously.
yes, in her. It's interesting because as I'm listening to you, what I'm picking up is that one of the core aspects of what touches a soul or a heart or moves a spirit is an aspect of innocence. That
I think so.
if you can sense the innocence in the personality, or the innocence or the purity in the stories, that has a way of impacting our hearts. And I believe that. I believe that the purer we become, the more the energy of God's light can work. And the more blockages and issues that we're walking with, the less ability, the less light, his light doesn't come through as powerfully as it can. And I feel that when we're on our path of spirituality, our intention is to move ourselves out of the way so that the energy of God's light can flow, so that we, as human beings, can not live in a world where we would allow another brother or sister to go to bed at night hungry, or to sit back and not do anything when we see injustice where a child is trafficked, or anything of that nature.
Right.
Yeah, so I do feel that it's an innocence or a purity that maybe we're all wanting to return to. And when we look at spiritual leadership, what we're seeking, maybe we don't know it, but the soul knows it at a deeper level. The soul wants to connect to a person or an entity that reminds them of the essence of their existence, which is a very deep, natural, innate state of innocence and purity. And I feel that when a person carries that energy about them, that's a leader. That's
I
definitely leadership skills.
I
That's a leader.
agree.
Love that. Love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
often say it feels like you are relaxing into love, and that is um, that recognition. When I see my grandson go into a park back when we were able to go to parks, he didn't look around and say, okay, I'm going to play with that kid, or he's got the right brand clothes on. It's just like, let's go play. There is this beautiful oneness quality that I agree. I think that,
And I want to correct the story. It was in my teens, I got exposed to my daddies and all these yogis, and I wasn't with them 24/7 every day. I got the impact from my mother based on her awakening. So prior to that, my upbringing was very different. And when the awakening happened and I ended up in that environment, more of that environment, it had set the tone that I had a choice. You can choose to evolve
yep.
and be a much more impactful person on the planet, or you can just choose to do what you think you only want to do, which only serves you and your ego. So, we all have this ability to choose. We're all going to be given that choice.
And it comes at different stages, doesn't it? Yeah, I think it comes at different stages. What do you all think about this idea of this time we're in now? We're recording this at the end of April 2020. The entire world is being impacted by COVID-19. What do you think these times are inviting us to do, and especially in terms of spiritual leadership? Sister Jenna, what do you believe is this time inviting us to do?
For me, and it's something Kanu and Sylvia hears me talk a lot about, and maybe you have too, it's to accumulate more of the inner spiritual power that the soul once had. And I think this time is for folks like me to do that work, which is what we were always doing. But because of distractions, organizational things, meetings, travels, it's different. And I believe that the more we look at this particular period as a preservation of our energy of love and purity, but also an accumulation of love and purity, I think that's what this COVID-19 is offering us as an opportunity. But also another thing I'm observing that it's doing, it has given us a chance to accept that we all have an issue. That it doesn't matter if you were Oprah Winfrey, T.D. Jakes, the Prime Minister of Britain, whomever you were, a person that's living in the slums in India or Africa, you also might be affected. You also have to be cautious. You also have to stay in isolation. You also have to spend time in your own company. So when you stay inside with your own self for a long period of time, you come to some sort of a foregone conclusion. Do I really like me? Do I like the person I've become? Have I done well so far? Am I doing good? And I think that this particular crisis is offering humanity a second breath, a second chance to do good. And I believe there are going to be some individuals who will come out of this absolutely shining stars. And I believe there are some who are going to come out extremely angry, frustrated, and feeling like the world owes them something because they haven't found the energy of love or strength to do the work on themselves. And folks like me or Kanu or you and so many others who are doing the work, we will have to have the maturity, the spiritual maturity to understand where they are and still be compassionate enough and empathetic enough to convey love and non-judgment. And so it's a powerful time of a deep spiritual uprising. And I feel the energy of silence, spiritual silence, not an absence of no sound, but spiritual silence, where you're no longer battling with yourself, but you're turning your attention to God so deeply that He's taking care of your issues and you can then be used as His instrument to help humanity. So to me, I feel this time is amazing. In a strange way, I kind of want to stay locked down for a little bit longer, but I'm going to go with whatever, the government and the world decides, and hopefully I'll evolve with a lot more energy than the energy I'd walked into the lockdown with.
Well, in a moment, I'm going to talk to Sylvia and Kanu, but in a moment, I'm going to circle back and ask everybody to just give a tip, a tool, a suggestion of how we all might be stepping up. Reverend Sylvia, what do you think this time is calling us to do, inviting us to do?
Well, as you asked that question, I was thinking that the world, we breathe life into life. And I think that we're having an opportunity to take a deep breath. That's the inhaling, the going within, to filling the body, the mind, the heart, and soul with energy and spirit. But it's for a purpose. And that purpose is so when this next exhale comes, that we are actually, the world will be moving into another level of expression. So we'll be exhaling a vision of a better world. We'll be exhaling, higher qualities of being. The earth is having an opportunity to breathe again without our interference. And we are having an opportunity to inhale, but the book that said waiting to exhale, it's a very powerful time. We're sort of waiting to exhale. But when we do, as a world, as a global entity and consciousness, hopefully we are going to exhale, as Sister Jenna so beautifully said, just higher principles of oneness and compassion and light will be creating, breathing life, new life into our lives. And I think from a higher perspective. So it's going to be exciting, but I think we're just inhaling, waiting to exhale this new dimension of life, because if we don't, then we won't have life. So
that visual is beautiful. Oh, beautiful. Kanu, what, I hate to make you follow her, but what,
Right.
sorry about that, friend.
Both of them said so eloquently.
You could just say ditto.
Yes, I could say ditto. I do want to add just one piece into it, and I think that it has to do with the ways that we are breaking down the habits of our lives, and that we're
Perfect.
out of habit, and that's the best time to unfreeze or like defrost. Like everything has been, our way of being has been so rush, grab, do, all of the things that we know that we've done before and that are not going to be the same after. So habit has broken. And just even simple habits like, going to Starbucks to grab a coffee in the morning, what does it take to, either give up coffee or go to tea or make your own, or, change of habits for people, I think gives this golden opportunity to recalibrate, put yourself back together again after things like Humpty Dumpty. We're coming back together again, and as Leonard Cohen said, through the cracks you can see the light. So let us see the light in through these cracks that we've created in our lives, and go towards that. This time of contraction, said, and Reverend Sylvia just said it so beautifully, about inhaling and exhaling, it's a contractive state. It's a it's like this. And then in expansion, it could be chaotic. It could really be chaotic. So I think the most important, uh, the most important thing every one of us is responsible for is our own thinking and how we choose to exhale, expand out of this, and what kind of a model spiritual leader are each of us going to be in our own lives as we come out of this, and uh, what story are we going to promote, and what way of being are people going to see in us, and what habits from before can we let go of and create brand new, more pure habits. So just building on what my other two good friends said.
I love all of that. It is like we're having a global reset. And I really resonate with what you're saying about habits. 2 months ago, I would have told you I can't live without this or that. And it turns out I can. I can live with a lot of things I didn't think I could, including seeing my family the way that I'm used to seeing them. But it is a wonderful, and I hate to use the word wonderful, it is an opportunity to, I think, to go within and to see. For me, it's all about love. If love is everywhere, where is love present here? And I liked what you said, Sister Jenna. We are seeing inequities right now. We're seeing places where maybe we can, as societies, well, definitely as societies, as countries, as a world, be more loving to the all. That is really, that part is exciting to me. I can see that opportunity while I can also sit with the pain that many, many, many families and individuals and business owners and countries and peoples are going through.
And I want to step in here because you shared about a lady at your church
Mhm.
that was such an inspiration for
Oh,
you spiritually. And we're in such a personality cult society where people want to be seen, want to be heard, and, acknowledged. And I get all of that. And yet we sometimes miss the people that is the one next door, or my auntie, or my uncle, or, it doesn't have to be an anointed spiritual leader historically, or, a Daddy Janki or a Daddy Prakashmani who we have seen practical proof of the way that they've lived to inspire you. It could just be that simple guy next door that you've had such interactions with him, and he's simple. He doesn't look like Kanye West. He's not a Donald Trump. His mother, his sister is into Kim Kardashian. He's just a simple, clean guy. He will not lie to you. He will not cheat you. He will not be angry with you. These are spiritual examples. And I think that we're getting sort of distracted of what is real versus what is an illusion. And maybe this particular period of this pandemic is also offering us a chance to see the people in our lives more with eyes of love and eyes of compassion. The other day, something disturbed me a little, and I called Sylvia to tell her, I'm a little bit out of sort. And I caught myself in the morning meditation. We get up at 4 o'clock every morning. And I said, why am I thinking of a particular soul who I sense has not much care or value for me? And I've got people who do. I should be remembering the people who support and honor and respect and elevate me versus the one that doesn't. And I think that's what happens to most of us as well. We get caught up in who we think is a better version, or we get caught up in who we think we want or who we should be with illusionary characters. And maybe the individual that's in our lives, maybe a husband that's working 2 jobs, maybe a wife that's working 2 jobs, maybe, just somebody who, if you really take the time and look at them, you'll start to realize this is also my spiritual mentor. And I think we're missing that. And this might be also an opportunity for us to see each other from a soul conscious place and from eyes of love and purity.
well, I think that we have many, many people on this call that fit that example beautifully, actually. I also love the idea that in this abnormal time, many people are elevating postal workers and hospital workers and the people that stock the shelves in the grocery stores. I know I go and make sure I say thank you, thank you, thank you to anybody I see like that. I think there is an opportunity for us to, like you said, see, well, for me, it's to see everybody with an open heart without an agenda. So I do think that while it is wonderful, we can have shared examples like Mother Teresa. That is a shared example of a spiritual leader, that it could be the person who is here on earth to help you the most does live next door. I love that. So in the time that we have left, if you were going to offer a tip, a tool, a technique, a suggestion to someone who is truly interested, as I'm sure everybody on this call is, how to get in contact more with their own inner leader, how to live love in the world. Sister Jenna, what would you advise? What would you suggest?
Thinking, could you come back to me? No, because I have so much that I could share. So I'm thinking I want to make it simple and small.
Yes, yes, we will pass you. We will go. Sister Jenna says a pass, and Kanu, you just showed up on my screen, so ta-da.
Because I'm laughing. You know, a number of things come to mind. However, the first one is that we soften our eyes.
Oh, I love that.
And it's a very simple action. And even behind a face mask, you know, people can see your eyes. And when we soften our eyes and we see with peripheral vision, you know, we see this out of the sides of our eyes, it's like, you know, everything expands and our energy changes. And I think that's just one really simple, so simple, anybody can do it, is soften your eyes and just look gently at the world. I have the good fortune right now of being in Florida, and it's amazing to be able to see the sunsets over the water. And I can't tell you what it does to me to put me in touch with the sea, the sand, the sky. The being in nature connects me to the earth in a way that I feel my smallness, but the vastness, and that we're all this vastness, and this part that is me is just a part of it all. It's just a part of it all. And I would also really encourage anybody who can just hug a tree. This week is Earth Week, and it would be an incredible time to just really realize how powerful it is to be with our Mother Nature, the Earth, and so I would say soften eyes, hug nature.
I love that. It's another way that we are all one. I will often be on the phone with a friend of mine in Australia, and we will look up at the sky at the same time, because we are both looking at the same sky, not at the same perspective, but I love that. Reverend Sylvia, what suggestion might you give someone to help them at this time just connect a little deeper to that spiritual leader within?
Mm-hmm. Is to for me, I have made a commitment that I spend several areas. You know, I spend a little time working because I have loads of work. Yeah. I make a commitment to spend time with my mother, who's living with me. And so she's cooped up, and I must make sure that I connect with her. But to really take some time to be with yourself, not by yourself, but with yourself, so that you can really begin to glean whatever, you know, messages for you, whatever is yours to do or to know or to be about. But take the time to, as I said, to breathe into this experience. So it doesn't have to be, where you're meditating all day long, although that's not a bad thing, but take the time to be willing to open up so that the energies that are so prevalent on the earth right now can filter in to you and through you, so that when you begin to exhale, it'll be from a really spiritually grounded way. So just spend 5 minutes a day with yourself and with the divine.
I love that. I love that. Sister Jenna, are you ready? Are you ready?
Everybody, you see how my friends tease me? You see what I have to go through every day with everyone?
I don't think there's a lot of pity there, but we'll work on it for you.
He's always ready. Don't let her fool you.
That's what I think.
What I was feeling really is, it's one, most importantly, you ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? The first thought that emerged would be the truthful one. The second practical step that I found to be very significant is to write a letter to God
I
and
love
tell him
that.
everything that you've been through, all your ins and outs, ups and downs, expectations, disappointments, victories. Let the energy of the divine know everything that's in your heart. And when I've written my letter, and when I do write my letter, it's been the most cleansing experience to write the things that I'm still ashamed of, things that I'm still feeling really low about, but I don't have the courage or the self-honesty or the strength to let anyone else know. And so when you write that letter to God, it just helps to clear out a lot of the blockages that's not allowing us to be in our spiritual leadership. And the third thing I would do, after you've written your letter to the divine, in meditation, which means to go inside behind your eyes and visualize until you can experience what it would feel like if God were to respond to your letter. And the second letter would be a letter to yourself where God is responding. And observe the thoughts that come out of your mind in your hand on that pen and paper. And when you read it slowly, in private, you'll be able to get a chance to recognize just how much potential is in you, and that you really have what it takes to not only spiritually lead others, but to come from a place of your own personal leadership of yourself. And the fourth thing that I would like to encourage everyone to do, please develop a consistent practice in your interest to want to know who you are. This is not something you do because you're on Diane's show. This is something you need to set a specific timetable so the energy of the universe can meet you when you sit. If it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the energy of the universe knows, oh, Diane is going to be here at 6 o'clock. I have to give the soul, or give her what she needs. Because you've set the energy of that vibration very specific, it's been consistent, and it will come to serve you. So look for ways that you can practice consistent ways of building yourself inside. Ask yourself how you're feeling is a big one. The letters, that comes later on, or that can come at one time. But to check behind your eyes, who am I? What am I here to do? Who do I belong to? And allow the energy of God's love to guide you. But be very specific and be consistent. And I am sure something profoundly powerful and real will emerge for you. I put my life on this method. I'll give up many lives for this. I guarantee it. You will be a different person, and your awakening will occur, and you begin to realize just how much potential is sitting in that little soul of yours. It was just waiting on you to do the work.
Oh, I love that.
Beautiful.
Really, and it really does just speak to our soul's truth, doesn't it? That idea of quietly sitting consistently, cultivating your own spiritual practice, whatever that is for you. Mine it always starts with meditation. Journaling is part of mine. One of the things that I love is I always end my journaling with a single question. Love, what would you most have me know today? And then I just let it flow. And to be totally honest, I don't always like the answer that I get, actually, but it's always what I need to hear. It's always what I need to hear. So
My life-saving questions that you've given me as a gift, Diane.
oh, well, I just have to say that's been one of the biggest things that's ever happened for me, just to understand how to go inside, ask, love, what would you have me know today? And then the second thing I do is say, show me. Sometimes it's that execution part that seems bigger than my ego. But when I just say, show me, and then I will write down what it is. Sometimes it's what are the first 3 things I need to do. And sometimes what I need to do is just be the way that you all have said as well. Sometimes it's not the doing, it's the being. So I so appreciate you beautiful ladies for being with me today. And I thank all of you for being part of our conversation on spiritual leadership. I know I've gotten a lot out of this, and I have to say it was really selfish because I wanted to get all my girls together and talk about this topic. So I'm so thrilled that you were all able to join us. Is there anything else, Tanu, Reverend Sylvia, Sister Jenna, that you want to share before we say goodbye for this time?
I would like to invite everyone to practice more inner silence. I believe that the more we can preserve our spiritual energy and capacity, we're going to be able to deal with whatever challenges, but also whatever gifts that are ahead of us. And I feel to pause every hour on the hour for a practice in our Brahma Kumaris community. It's called traffic control. Every hour you set your cell phone, let it just chime you in and take, I don't know, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Check how you're feeling, who the soul belongs to, which is the divine, and then feel what are you here to do, and just keep spreading your peace. Just keep spreading your peace. It's very incognito, but it becomes very visible in the long run.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Ladies, do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say gratitude. I am grateful for all the, I notice the privileges I have in my life. I notice all these things that I can appreciate, and how much gratitude has just changed everything. So I just want to say thank you to you, Diane. Thank you to all the people that are on today that are looking at this broadcast. I would want to say thank you to the technology that allows us to do this from our homes now. I mean, there's so much to appreciate when we look for it. And I know how much that changes my inner state. And I invite everyone who's probably already doing it to look for at least 5 things to be grateful for every day.
Yeah, that gratitude is a doorway to the divine. I agree. Reverend Sylvia, what would you like to leave us with?
You know, I could just say ditto to what my beautiful sisters have already said. I just love them very dearly. And thank you, Diane, for pulling us all together, because I do believe that it's the energy of the collective that is really helping all of us, that when we all come together, we can each individually slip into the place that's been prepared for us by each other, by our love. And just to echo what Sister Jenna said, she, says practicing the control, but for me, it's also taking as much as it comes into my awareness, just to stop and be aware and open my heart in that very moment, to keep my heart open. If I'm doing something, I open my heart. If I'm thinking something, writing, open my heart, so that I stay plugged in. And just thank you everyone for being on the call.
Oh,
And
thank you.
Diane, I don't know, I can't see from the distance, but I think I see Molly on, but I'm not
Melly is on.
really
She sure
sure.
is.
Aditi, Dr. Ivy Hilton.
Yep,
I know I see Antonia. Molly is doing some incredible work with her SOAR
absolutely.
network. Aditi is at George Mason and she's doing incredible work with wellness and well-being. Dr. Ivy has a wonderful sound spa. It's nice to see Brother Julio, but I can't see from a distance because you guys are far away, but that's who I can see. So forgive me if others are on and I'm not calling your name.
Michelle, Shay,
Michelle,
yay.
hey, so nice to have you on too. Just the blessing of this beautiful energy that you've brought together, Diane. And it's just, there's so much hope. We can look forward to so much hope, but we have to remain that way.
I love the fact that we have all gathered to discuss this. I see one of my beautiful friends, and she is a Course in Miracles teacher, my friend Randy up in Princeton. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for being here. I know that each in our own way, we realize that there is a part we all have to play now and every day. So thank you. Thank you to my sisters. Thank you, Sister Jenna. Thank you, Reverend Sylvia. Thank you, Kenu. Thank you, all of you that came. Please know how much I deeply appreciate each one of you. I love you deeply and I hold you in my heart. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
you.
you all.
Om
Namaste.
Shanti.
Yes.
Om Shanti.
Oh, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.